I am Mercy Gashego to bring you this morning's news update live here on Channel 44. I will be joined later by Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. In today's news update, we have both local and international news, just headlines. We'll start with the local news headlines. Muhoozi camp backs Museveni for 2026. This is real news. Is on page 5 of today's New Vision. Muhoozi camp backs Museveni for 2026. Details are in today's New Vision, and also 50 trillion shillings budget passed. Winners, losers in draft 2023-2024 budget. And also still in today's New Vision, Kole Choteda Amless Boys excel on national IDs, nearer to recruit 11,000 workers. Members have approved 12.6 billion shillings for the recruitment of more national identification and registration authority NERA staff to facilitate the forthcoming mass registration exercise. NERA intends to carry out the enrollment of 17.2 million citizens and a renewal exercise. It's in today's New Vision. Pope Francis visits DRC, South Sudan. Pope Francis has embarked on his 5th visit to Africa, flying to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where thousands of well-wishers line the streets of Kinshasa to receive him. The 86-year-old Pope will, on Friday, fly to Juba, South Sudan. Details are on page 37 of today's New Vision. And also Museveni commissions 40 billion shillings Bukalasa College. President Yoweri Museveni, accompanied by the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Museveni, seen during the commissioning of the newly constructed training facilities at Bukalasa Agriculture College in Woblenzi, Luwero District. Well, there are many stories in today's New Vision: tenders, job opportunities. Get yourself a copy and get to know what's happening in our nation. Off to the Daily Monitor. Hospitals run out of essential drugs. A drug stock out in regional hospitals, districts and health centers has forced a number of patients across the country to craft a costly Plan Bs. The facilities do not have essentials like anti-malaria drugs. It's in today's Daily Monitor on page 4 and 5. MP Namuganza runs to court to challenge the censor. The State Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Ms. Persis Namuganza, has gone to the Civil Division of the High Court in Kampala, seeking to, among others, quash the resolution of Parliament that censored her more than a week ago. In her suit that she filed on January 27th, the minister, who doubles as Bukono MP, is challenging the entire tabling, debating, and adoption of the Select Committee of Parliament that led to her censure. It's in today's Daily Monitor. And also NSSF inquiry puts Oliomochi in spotlight. The Daily Monitor brings you inside government opposition joint security meeting. And euphoria in DRC as Pope Francis touches down in today's Daily Monitor. Allow me to take you straight into the international news update. I'll now be joined by Livingstone Kawesi for sign language interpretation and translation. Security chiefs from Eastern Africa are meeting in Somalia's capital Mogadishu to deliberate joint operations against the Al-Shabaab militant Islamist group. Heads of state from the region will meet today to discuss a coordinated military offensive against the Al-Qaeda affiliated group, which has waged an insurgency against Somalia's federal government over the past decade and a half. The meeting of security chiefs comes in the wake of significant gains made by the Somali government troops in the fight against Al-Shabaab. Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Kenya are all part of the African Union Transitional Mission in Somalia, the continental peacekeeping force in the country. The highlight of the two-day meeting will be a summit of regional leaders today, who will also focus on the phased withdrawal of African Union troops who have been in Somalia since 2007. Al-Shabaab has lost significant territory since government forces backed by the United States, African troops and local militia launched an offensive in August. The militants, however, continue to carry out attacks in the capital, Mogadishu, and in towns and cities in the central and southern Somalia. Moving on, United Nations experts have called for an independent investigation into possible war crimes committed in Mali by the armed forces and the Russian Wagner Group. In 2021, the military rulers in Bamako hired the group to help tackle the Islamist insurgency. The UN experts say that since then, they have received persistent accounts from the Mopti region of executions, mass graves, torture, rape, and enforced disappearances. They said they were especially concerned about reports that several hundred civilians were executed after being rounded up in the village of Mora last March. Earlier this month, the U.S. designated Wagner a transnational criminal organization. In the DRC, shortly after landing in Kinshasa, the Pope Francis delivered a speech full of stinging condemnation of the exploitation over centuries, not just of the DRC, but also the continent of Africa. He talked of political strangleholds, giving way to economic colonialism, which he says was equally enslaving. In the best received section of the speech, he told the outside world to acknowledge the catastrophic things that have been done in the country, which is the DRC, and to fully respect people of the DRC. He was quoted saying, "Hands of the Democratic Republic of Congo, hands of Africa, stop choking Africa. It is not a mine to be stripped of or a terrain to be plundered," according to Pope Francis, in an applause referring to the rich resources that have brought so much conflict and death to the country. However, the Pope did not specifically refer to the role played by the Catholic colonizer backed by historic edicts from the Vatican and the atrocities they committed in the DRC. 3 Haitian Americans and a Colombian have been tried in the U.S. over the assassination of Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse in July 2021. 7 people in total have now been charged in the United States. His death in his private residence in the capital, Port-au-Prince, plunged the country, already suffering from rising violence and an economic crisis made worse by natural disasters, into further turmoil. Police say a group of mercenaries, most of them Colombians, was behind the attack, which they suspect a Haitian doctor of ordering as part of a plot to become president. Dozens of people have been arrested in connection with the case, but for the most part, the investigation has been slow, and the exact details about the people who carried out the plan and their real motives are only beginning to emerge. In New Zealand, more heavy rainfall has brought havoc to the Auckland city, downing trees, flooding homes, and closing major roads. 4 people were killed and thousands of homes were damaged by the heavy downpour on Friday. Residents in vulnerable areas had been told to prepare to evacuate if needed. A precautionary state of emergency has been lifted in Northland, the country's northernmost region, where unprecedented rainfall was expected. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown said he predicted heavy rainfall could be more dangerous than Friday's due to backlogged stormwater systems across the region. In Australia, new specialist equipment has been brought into the search for a radioactive capsule missing in Western Australia. The tiny capsule, the size of a pea, fell off a truck during the 1,400-kilometer journey in mid-January. Experts say it could cause serious illness to anyone who touches it. And finally, in the United States, the family of a motorist who died after being beaten by police in Memphis, Tennessee, have demanded accountability on the eve of his funeral. At a church in the city, Tyrone Nichols whose stepfather and brother vowed to keep fighting for justice. 5 former officers have been charged with murder. Police personnel files for the officers show a litany of complaints. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is due to attend the funeral today, a day after she phoned Mr. Nichols' grief-stricken mother. Well, that brings us to the end of this morning's news update. Thank you for watching Channel 44. I remind you that we are still helping the people of Karamoja join us once again by sending your seed to the numbers that will be availed during the services. Alternatively, you can bring your seed to the Miracle Center Cathedral during the revival services or at the reception. You'll be given a receipt for accountability and you will be tremendously blessed. I also remind you that we are having revival nights every evening. We are having dream interpretation. We are having a great time in the presence of God. Come join us this evening during the midweek service. There's going to be praying for the sick. There's going to be deliverance sessions and many other things that happen in the presence of God. The Pastors Now program is up next with men of God and women of God that are here to bring you testimonies of what happens in the Miracle Center Cathedral, of great things the Lord is doing in our midst. God bless you. We'll meet again at 12:45 with fresh news updates. Enjoy your morning.